On January 29, 2025, about 8:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a Sikorsky UH-60 Lima helicopter operated by the United States Army and a PSA Airlines CRJ700 collided in flight approximately 1/2 mile southeast of Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, or DCA. The 2 pilots, 2 flight attendants, and 60 passengers on board the airplane, and all 3 crew members on board the helicopter were fatally injured. The military helicopter flight originated from Davison Army Airfield, Fort Belvoir, Virginia. The flight was an annual evaluation for the pilot with the use of night vision goggles. The airplane was operated by PSA Airlines, doing business as American Airlines Flight 5342, a scheduled domestic passenger flight under Title 14 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 121, from Wichita, Kansas to Washington, D.C. Night visual meteorological conditions prevailed at the time of the accident. In the radio communications, the accident airplane was using call sign Bluestreak 5342, and the Army helicopter was using call sign Pat 25. The Federal Aviation Administration provides charts that specify helicopter routes to facilitate operations in high-traffic areas. The helicopter routes have no defined lateral boundaries, but they do have maximum altitude limits. The helicopter routes are depicted by a blue line on the Google Earth image. Helicopter Route 1's western section begins in Cabin John, Maryland, and follows the Potomac River southeast to Washington, D.C., through the Tidal Basin and the Washington Channel to Haines Point, and then turns east along the Anacostia River. At the time of the accident, Helicopter Route 4 intercepted Route 1 at Haines Point and continued south along the Potomac River's eastern shore past DCA and the Wilson Bridge. North of Chain Bridge, the maximum altitude is 1,300 feet. Between Chain Bridge and Key Bridge, the maximum altitude is 700 feet. Between Key Bridge and Memorial Bridge, the maximum altitude is 300 feet, and south of Memorial Bridge to the Wilson Bridge, the maximum altitude is 200 feet. At 8:33 p.m., 15 minutes before the collision, Pat 25 requested permission to travel from Cabin John along Helicopter Route 1 to Helicopter Route 4 to Davison Army Airfield. The DCA local controller approved the request.
25 is looking for Cabin John, Route 1, Route 4 to Davison.
Pat 25 approved.
There was no communication between Pat 25 and the DCA local controller for 12 minutes. At 8:39 p.m., 9 minutes before the collision, Flight 5342 was cleared for the Mount Vernon Visual Runway 1 approach to DCA by Potomac Terminal Radar Approach Control. Select in-cockpit communications between the instructor and the pilot in Pat 25, primarily about altitude, will be shown on a black background in the animation. At 8:43 p.m., 5 minutes before the collision, Flight 5342 was handed off to the DCA tower local controller. The local controller asks the crew of Flight 5342 if they could switch their approach from runway 1 to runway 33.
Bushie 5342, Washington Tower 1 star 32017, gust 25. Can you take runway 33?
The crew accepted the change and they were cleared to land on runway 33. This magnified satellite photograph shows the locations of runway 1 and runway 33 at DCA.
Yeah, we can do 33 for Bushie 5342.
Bushie 5342 at the Wilson Bridge, change to start from runway 33, clear to land.
Change to runway 33, runway 33 for land, Bushie 5342.
There was no further communication between the local controller and the crew of Flight 5342 before the collision. This animation shows aircraft in the vicinity of DCA for the 3 minutes before the collision. The local control and helicopter control positions were combined, and the local controller was communicating with 6 airplanes and 5 helicopters. Communications took place on an airplane radio frequency and a helicopter radio frequency. The local controller was broadcasting on both the airplane and helicopter radio frequencies, but airplane communications were only heard in other airplanes, and helicopter communications were only heard in other helicopters. The animation includes air traffic control audio for both the airplane and helicopter frequencies. A transcript of the controller communications will appear in the upper left, and the local controller will be indicated on the map. A transcript of aircraft communications will appear in the lower left, and the aircraft call sign will be highlighted on the map. The controller was also communicating with aircraft outside the bounds of this map, which will be indicated. The accident helicopter is shown in orange with the label PAT 25, and the accident airplane is shown in magenta with the label PSA 5342.
Jet 789, 1 star 32015, gust 25, traffic 2 out, no delay, runway 1, clear takeoff.
Clear takeoff, runway 1, no delay, Jet 789.
Flight Check 1, landing is here, Board 1, good night.
Flight Check 1, Roger for exchange for good night.
Pat 25 Memorial.
Pat 25, Roger.
Washington Tower, American 3130 with you, runway 1.
American 3130, Washington Tower 1 star 31014, gust 25, runway 1, clear to land. Traffic will depart, may depart prior to arrival.
Okay, clear to land, runway 1, American 3130.
Jet 789, contact on Barge, good day.
Okay.
American 3130, slow the funnel.
Slow in American 3130.
Pat 25, traffic just south of Wilson Bridge to CRJ at 1,200 feet, circle runway 33. This is pressure roof. American 1630 Tower, runway 1, lot boy, traffic throughout circle runway 33, this traffic on 6 mile funnel.
Line up rate, runway 1, American 1630.
Tower Muscle 7, approaching Springfield, request around 3.
Runway 1.
Most 7, stand by. Bushie 5307, keep rolling out to November, ground point 7, good day.
November 307.
National Tower, good evening. Air Carrier 1's with you. Single medevac.
American 16, start to one star 32014, gust 25, traffic 2 mile left base, runway 33, no delay, runway 1 clear for immediate takeoff.
Number 1, clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Muscle 7 0 request.
And Muscle 7 request, route 3 to zone 6.
Muscle 7, you said route 3 to zone 6.
Hey, sir,
Muscle 7 approved.
American 472, National Tower, good evening. Air Carrier 1's with you. Single medevac helicopter 1,000 feet, 29901 on the altimeter. Requesting zone 6 for Fairfax.
Medevac Air Carrier 1 Washington Tower, National Altimeter 29900. Approved through Washington class, Robert Space Portland, shared at Fairfax.
29990 for Air Carrier 1, copy.
Pat 25, do you have the CRJ in sight? Pat 25, pass behind the CRJ.
Pat 25 has a aircraft in sight, precedent separation.
This separation.
American 472, my path number and visual.
American 472, Washington Tower, 1 star 32017.
The following video shows the airplane and helicopter leading up to the point of collision. The video was recorded by a camera located near the approach end of runway 33 at DCA, oriented to the south. The video shows the night lighting conditions and the appearance of the aircraft lights against the cultural lighting of the city. Aircraft lined up on approach to DCA can be seen in the right corner of the screen. The flashing lights identify the touchdown zone of runway 33's landing threshold. Flight 5342 is visible in the upper left corner as it approaches runway 33. Pat 25 appears from the left side of the screen, moving to the right as the two aircraft cross flight paths.